Me tonight, I've got the comedy legends that are Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. I think on reflection, legends was a bit much. It just came out. It wasn't even on the autocue.
Yeah.
You're very good stand-ups, yeah.
Thank you.
But we'll have to revisit that in about 60 years to see whether you have attained legendary status. I believe in you both. But to begin the show, we're going to have a look through Wednesday's front pages. The Daily Mail is leading with "What planet are they on?" And that's relating to their investigation, which we will go through in a moment. The Times has number 10 wants NatWest boss to quit over Farage. That's a major story tonight. We've got the Financial Times. Sunak ready to overhaul green targets for landlords as general election nears. The Guardian, UN calls for phone ban in schools to protect well-being of children. Sounds like a good idea to me. The Telegraph has Rose, I leaked Farage story to BBC, but I won't resign. And the Daily Star, they've got something quite different, bringing home the bacon that is an artist pig that has earned more than £1 million. And those were your front pages. OK, we're going to start with this Telegraph front cover story very close to GBNews' heart.
So Dame Alison Rose, the CEO of NatWest, which owns Coutts, has revealed that she was the source behind the BBC report that said that Nigel Farage was let go from Coutts because he didn't have enough money. It turned out to be a lie, but she's refusing to resign, and that's prompting some anger amongst politicians.
So it wasn't a coincidence that she was sitting next to the BBC journalist the night before it leaked?
No.
It turned out.
I'm
shocked.
Yeah. She says she made a serious error of judgment. I mean, yeah, no doubt. It's a breach of GDPR, and her only defence is that it was a lie. We didn't reveal personal information because it was incorrect. But yeah, I mean, she lied, and no wonder she wants to hang on to her job. It's £5 million a year.
£5 million does seem an awful lot for any job.
Well, that's like 5 accounts at Coutts.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you put it in that term,
she should be denied a bank account. That is how she should be punished.
Because her values surely do not align with
lying.
anyone else's.
They don't have lying in their list of values.
So is it not possible, though, that we all make an error of judgment from time to time in our jobs? No?
I've never made one.
I mean, not to this extent. I'll grant you.
Well, look, she insisted that she's saying she thought it was in the public space already. But the thing is, as Nigel Farage has pointed out, he didn't actually reveal at that time that it was Coutts. It was Coutts that came out and said, we got rid of him because he's poor.
Look, the very fact that they prepared a 40-page dossier about the views that Nigel Farage had, it's got none of their business what his political views are.
He likes Ricky Gervais. Basically, that was one of the things.
I can't believe they put in the fact that he retweeted a Ricky Gervais joke. That's how ridiculous it is.
The level of detail, spying on his social media account to see what he's been tweeting, what he's been sharing, and sharing a comedy clip that I think most people would laugh at and most people would share. It's ridiculous. It's like the Stasi. They had a list of people who wanted to buy a car, and they said if you want to buy a car, then you're a bad person.
But this is interesting, isn't it? Because it's not just. You see, I would have thought it was a few rogue executives at the bank or whatever. Yeah. It's clearly gone right.
They've got an actual committee. They've got the Reputation Management Committee or whatever. It's got some Orwellian name, and that's what I mean. It's tasked to deal with this.
Now, Josh, 39% of this bank is owned by the taxpayer, so it's fair play, isn't it, that some ministers are now saying they're weighing in and saying that Dame Alison's post isn't really tenable at this point.
Yeah, and NatWest has basically said that they're going to sort of look at how much money she's get. Maybe she'll only get like $4.5 million.
She'll be destitute.
But they're not looking to fire her. But what's amazing to me is online still. There are people still pushing the narrative that Nigel Farage lost his account because he didn't have enough money, even with this 40-page dossier, even with people apologising, even with the thousands of people out there who've also lost their accounts for various sort of bizarre reasons.
Yeah, but if you're politically tribal in that way, then evidence is useless because you've already decided what you want to believe and you're going to go along with it no matter what.
Yeah, but like otherwise intelligent people, it's amazing to see it like laid out like that.
And people who could be the victim of the next regime. So, I mean, comedians like Dara O'Brien and Rosie Holt who mock the government. I mean, who do they think the next government could come after if they don't like being mocked?
Right, quite. OK, well, we're going to move on to the next front cover. This one is The Guardian. Josh, what are they running with?
Yeah, this is really good. UN calls for phone ban in schools to protect the well-being of children. And this is what pretty much anyone knows is too much screens has a detrimental impact on brain development.
Yes.
And so the idea is to keep it out of schools. I don't allow my kids to have a phone up until secondary school anyway.
Yes.
But at their secondary school, they are penalised if they are seen with a phone during term.
I mean, I've spoken to Catherine Burbelsing, who is the head of Michaela Community School, and there's no phones in that school. You're not allowed to bring your phones into class. And as a former teacher, I know how distracting that kind of thing can be. One of the schools I was working at, they tried an experiment where every pupil had an iPad for the whole day, and all the work was done on iPad. And of course, they didn't get anything done because they were constantly doing other things and playing games.
Yeah,
but I remember. Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, phones, they open you up to the entire internet, which is the entire world, the wealth of human intellectual knowledge and you know, everything. But no, we just look at cats and idiotics.
We need to go, basically, so what the UN is saying, or UNESCO is saying, is we need to go back to, like, Dead Poet Society.
Yeah.
Children standing on desks.
Yeah, but that's a health and safety issue, to be fair. But
I hadn't thought about that.
But
they
should be reading books. Not Dead Poet Society, actually, because he gets them to rip whole chapters out of the book, doesn't he?
It's a bloody Nazi.
Basically, that's exactly what he is, yes. That's an interesting rereading of that film. We're going to move on now to the front cover of Wednesday's Mail. Leo, what are they leading with?
So they have, what planet are they on? And they're talking about the Bar Council, which is the representative body for lawyers in the UK, because yesterday the Daily Mail revealed that there are human rights lawyers, immigration lawyers who are gaming the system, taking huge sums of money, taking 10 grand a pop in some cases, and teaching, tutoring, sort of mentoring the asylum seekers, well, call them asylum seekers, cross-channel migrants, how to pretend to be an asylum seeker.
Well, they're helping them invent
backstories. Invent stories of torture, death threats and slavery, arrange a marriage to stay in Britain. We've seen some of the terrorist attackers that have committed atrocities in the UK have pretended to be Christians. They say, you can't send me back, I'm Christian, I'll be persecuted, then they can stay on and blow people up in the UK.
They're like Nick Dixon, really. He pretends to be Christian. I'm joking.
He was in church the other day.
I know, I really
He's legit.
Just a little joke to wind him up.
Don't start attacking other panelists when they're not here.
Anybody in weeks.
Josh, this is very serious. I mean, some of the lawyers were saying that they could fake doctors' notes as well to get
get prescriptions.
And this is not good. Now, the Bar Council, they are saying, but there's rotten apples in every barrel, right? So you can,
not lawyers. Lawyers are supposed to. You can't practice law if you've got a criminal record.
Yeah, surely, the Mail investigating and discovering this kind of level of corruption, irrespective of whether you're on the left or the right, that's got to be a good thing, right?
You would think so, but again, what we're having is people from my tribe just looking. And so you had Rishi Sunak today putting out this tweet. Now, arguably, the language wasn't great. Maybe some people would say it went too far. But everybody attacking him for some factual truths. The fact is, there are lawyers out there who are breaking the law, who are unscrupulous, who are taking thousands of pounds to allow economic migrants to game the system.
Yeah. Right.
Now, that should, rather than us just looking at that and going, you know what, that's wrong. Yeah, we should acknowledge that and deal with that issue. Everybody has instead gone, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen and whatever. It's like, come on, man.
I mean, the neediest, the sort of most, the neediest cases, the people who deserve asylum the most, don't even get anywhere near the shores of the UK because you have to pay traffickers thousands of pounds to cross. You have to pay traffickers thousands of pounds to come through Europe.
Or when they do get here, they don't have the thousands of pounds necessary to game the system.
No, exactly. OK, well, finally in this section, we're going to have a look at the front of the Daily Star quite quickly, because this is a bit of a lightweight story. A pig painting.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. This isn't lightweight. This is the biggest story of the day. Bringing home the bacon. A painting pig who was rescued from the slaughterhouse has made basically £1 million from their abstract art.
I'm glad that she's been rescued from the abattoir and she's using her time well. But she's called Pigcasso. There's an image of one of Picasso's pieces.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And actually,
she had help from her parents with that. Look at that.
It's a good one there. It's all Jewish people who are buying up her art.
Is that right?
To save her.
Really? That's the ISIS...
That one, I mean, look...
Yeah.
That's the ISIS flag.
That's Banksy, isn't it?
Isn't this just indicative, though, of the decline of culture? I mean, the fact that a pig can earn this much money
Oh, sailor, my sailor, look at you with your
Do you know what?
words.
If that pig could do, like, a decent bowl of fruit...
I'm going to stand on the desk right now.
Yeah.
It can eat a decent bowl of fruit.
Yeah, but it can't paint one.
No.
So I think we need to put it back in the abattoir.
Right.
And I say that as a vegetarian.
This is unbelievable.
I want this artist to be killed with a bolt
Can
gun.
we do that with all artists?
Yeah, actually, some of them.
That you don't like?
Only the yummy ones.
All right, that's the end of this part, but in the next section, we're going to lay into Germany, Just Stop Oil, and the BBC, but fairly. See you in a minute.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nana, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with myself, Andrew Doyle, and joining me on our journey through Wednesday's newspapers, we have Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. We're going to kick off this section with Wednesday's Telegraph. And Leo, as long as we're doing better than Germany, right?
Yeah, well, the British economy will outperform Germany this year, according to the IMF. So it looks like Brexit has hit Germany pretty hard, harder than Britain, apparently. The IMF expects the UK economy to grow by 0.4% this year, which previously it thought there was going to be a contraction in the UK, and this was being reported. This seems to happen every single time. The IMF or some world body, economic body, says that the British economy is going to tank and other G7 economies are going to do much better, and then Britain confounds expectations. Germany's economy is expected to shrink by 0.3% this year, which I mean is sort of driven by their manufacturing decline, which is driven by rising gas prices because we don't have cheap gas from Russia anymore.
So this and that's why we're doing so well, because we don't have any manufacturing.
Okay, but look, Josh,
jokes on them.
No, we export so much of our services. We've got an incredibly into Europe as well. So many British services companies have set up offices in Luxembourg so they can export easily to
But after
Europe.
all the doomsayers and the naysayers, I mean, surely this is good news that everyone will celebrate, right?
Oh, yeah, well, everyone but Germany.
Look, yeah, exactly. There is that.
So it's like 2 World Wars and 1 World Cup and global...
Exactly. We don't care about cost of living. As long as we're
performing
beating the
major
Germans.
economy.
Yeah, we're beating the Germans, and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. No, because it's great, because what's happening over here is that we're spending our money more than they thought that we would.
Yes.
Because essentially we've given up hope, so we might as well just get rid of all our savings.
OK, well, there's a silver lining to every story, I guess. The Daily Mail next, about a story where do the NHS budgets go? What's this about?
Yeah, NHS spends £2.7 billion settling medical negligence claims in 1 year, with 41% of the bill coming from maternity care failings, report says. So this is it's a very upsetting story.
Yes.
It's the waste. There's a waste of life. There's waste of, obviously, money as well.
Well, I'd read this before, that an awful lot of the NHS budget goes on lawsuits.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you know, people are losing their loved ones. Things go wrong in a hospital, but on the other hand, if people stopped suing the NHS, we would save more lives.
Of course, things do go wrong, but at the same time, there's evidence of they keep going wrong.
Yes.
And that's the mad thing. Certainly with maternity care, people have been giving birth. You know, it's not a new thing here, and these mistakes have been happening, and then when they keep on happening. That's where you're like, what are you doing?
And we both had sort of, kind of subpar experiences with giving birth. Not that we gave birth ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had some great experiences. I did have a little bit more experience than you.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But one of them in particular was like, this is, you know, that you get some people...
But something's got to be done, though, because we're constantly talking about how the NHS is underfunded and how it's stretched to the limit.
Yeah.
And so much of their budget is going on lawsuits. There must be something we can do. There must be also some lawsuits that aren't really fair, that are people trying to sort of, you know, find some sort of reconciliation.
Some of the situations just don't seem fair because, I mean, a Sri Lankan couple gave birth using the NHS. They come to the UK. I'm not sure how. And they didn't speak English. And the NHS gave them some leaflets about, you know, how to look after your baby. And they took the baby home, didn't feed it, and it died. And then they sued, saying, well, we should have been given information in Sri Lankan or Tamil or whatever.
Presumably they didn't win that case, though.
They did, and they got, I think, 1.5 million. It was over $1 million. And, you know, if we had rules, like I think in France you've got a rule, you've got to speak French. You know, that's a requirement, rather than providing everything in every different language.
You know, that's one case. We had last year there were over 200 babies and 9 mothers died because of poor care, and that's just that's at Shrewsbury and Telford NHS. So there are cases like that, but there's also a lot of cases where this is unnecessary.
Okay,
it shouldn't be happening.
All right. Well, look, we're going to move on now to Wednesday's Sun. This is a story about how Just Stop Oil are just stopping tax money going where it's needed.
Yeah, more waste of tax money. Militant eco-yobs slammed as a drain on taxpayers after their demos cost £7.7 million in just 13 weeks.
That's a hell of a lot.
It's the same as 200 police officers' salaries, according to the Met. So in terms of every single day, the Met say they've got 150 officers who would ordinarily be policing in local communities, stopping real crime.
Yeah, like bus stop dodgers.
Yeah,
bus fare dodgers.
They do some. Like they
it's
occasionally.
A callback for yesterday's.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a story, but it doesn't matter.
Maybe I should watch it when I'm not on.
Yeah, you should.
But yeah, I mean, like the police could be dealing with other crime, and obviously they wouldn't, because all they deal with now is misgendering and tweets.
Yes.
But the worst thing about this is, this is a cost to the taxpayer, and Just Stop Oil are funded by Dale Vince, who's an eco-millionaire, to make him richer. They're pushing this agenda. So it looks like some sort of grassroots organisation that's all, hey, this is representing what the people want. It's not. It's representing what this millionaire energy baron wants, and he wants people to use wind power because that's what he makes his money from.
Can't he?
And he doesn't. He wants the government, and he funds the Labour Party as well. He wants them to shut down oil and gas, so everybody's dependent on his renewables.
But why can't he pay for the cost that it's taking to deal with the protesters?
Well, that's what some people are saying.
It would be nice if he offered.
Yeah, but my favourite part of this article is the Met chief accused the JSO organisers of adding to the pressure on the resources by not communicating their plans. It just sounds so whiny. It's like, look, if they just told us where they were going to be,
burglars.
Then we could. Otherwise,
burglars could do that as well.
Anyone breaking the law.
Guardian now, Josh, and another BBC News report is on the naughty step.
Indeed, BBC apologises for LGBTQ LGBTQ+ question to Morocco's football captain. So there's some confusion in the article whether this is before the Women's World Cup match or after. It says both. So maybe The Guardian can clear that up for tomorrow's edition. But you had this BBC reporter who basically said, yeah, in Morocco it's illegal to be gay, and you get I think it's 3 years in jail. And they were like, yeah, so who's gay on your team? and so she just took her earpiece out and sort of said, this is not appropriate.
But the reporter's trying to make a point about the human rights abuses in the country.
So then they said, we're not going to answer that. And then he went, no, I think you should answer that. Like, classic BBC News smugness.
That is throwing someone under the bus in a really horrible way, because you know they obviously they can't say anything to that. Because even if they believe that we should have equal rights for gay people, if they say it, they put themselves at risk in that kind of country.
And we've seen athletes before, in China and in Iran, being punished for after being asked questions and after espousing political views.
Maybe it's just some junior reporter who didn't quite get the kind of sensitivity of doing
but
this.
He's like, no, he was like, no, it's not political, please let's answer the question. It's just...
Well, it's certainly got nothing to do with football.
Well, there seems to be a pattern with the BBC. We've had a few journalists making huge clangers. I mean, Anjana Gagel, who's actually my cousin, she had that... she said that the Israeli military were happily...
killing children.
Killing children, which...
Blood libel.
Your cousin said
which I know that's what people at the BBC think, but they're
Did
supposed
you get it
to
from
be
you
impartial.
at Christmas?
No, I'm the other way round. I'm like...
Unfortunately, Morocco lost 6-0.
Oh, did they?
So
Well,
they did have some more lesbians on their team.
They deserve it. Also, didn't Morocco used to be the
Britain.
place where gay men went for sex tourism back in the day?
I don't know, Andrew. Was Morocco a place?
Before I was born. I mean, in like Joe Orton's diaries and Kenneth Williams' diaries.
Right. And that was before they had Nivea after Sun. That must have been a
they were
terrible
taking
thing.
risks for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also, sex changes in Morocco, so I don't know what their issue with the tea is. Anyway, that's a historical point. So taking up to the halfway point is the Times now, Leo, with Scottish Labour telling Keir Starmer that you can take our lives, but you can never take our self-ID policy.
So Scottish Labour are at odds with Keir Starmer. They've broken with Labour policy. They've backed the SNP's controversial Gender Recognition Reform Act at Holyrood. And this is an act that basically makes it much easier to become a woman in Scotland. I mean,
you just say you are, right?
Obviously in Scotland, it's easy to become a woman. You just put on a kilt. The women are quite hairy, so, you don't need to do that much anyway.
No.
But they're really making it... You don't need to go to a doctor and convince a panel that you're a woman. You can just basically self-identify as being a woman. Just say you're a woman, then you are.
Labour, Keir Starmer is now saying, no, we're not going to have that.
Yeah, but Keir Starmer is just saying that. He flip-flops on every issue. Every policy statement he makes is basically like, what do you like? Oh, yeah, I like that. That's what I'm going to do. So, when he gets into power, he's going to do something different. He's just saying what he needs to
Never seen him flip-flop. I've seen him
him
flip, but I've never seen him flop back yet.
Didn't he do that over, what was it, whether women have got penises or not?
Oh, no, he flip-flopped within the same answer to the question. He was all over the place.
That's a flip-flop about a flip-flop.
Yeah, he just... No, I don't know what that means.
That's my
penises
nickname.
everywhere, flying. It was like a helicopter.
What do you think, Josh? I mean, the idea that Scottish Labour defying English Labour, so there's going to be a Labour civil war now, right?
Yes, and this goes back to a video that I know you've seen and you might have seen. Helen Joyce being interviewed and basically saying how impossible it is for people who've been selling this ideology to admit that they are wrong.
Yeah.
And she's talking about the parents who've medicalised their kids and put them on that path, but it's to everybody, anybody who supported it, because to admit that you're wrong and to admit to the travesty that's happened here with young children.
Travistock.
Travistock,
is to admit your culpability within that.
So psychologically, you can't admit that you were complicit in the mutilation of children, basically.
Which is what they would be doing if they
I think you're both bigots. Obviously, maiming and sterilising children protects them and keeps them safe.
Yeah, well, on that very left-wing note, a little breather now before we gear up for drugs, violence and racist Tai Chi. See you in a minute.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your GB News weather forecast. Well, the next few days it's set to remain unsettled across the UK, further spells of rain, but in between we will see some sunshine. Reason for the unsettled conditions is these two areas of low pressure. Really not going to go very far over the next few days. And with a northerly wind, it's going to feel pretty chilly at times, especially by night under some clearer skies. But for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England, actually tonight, we will remain fairly cloudy here with some outbreaks of rain. But elsewhere, relatively dry and clear, and as I mentioned, under the clear skies, feeling pretty chilly for this point in the year. Towns and cities staying in double figures, but out towards the countryside, we could see lows falling down to around 5 to 6 degrees. But compensation will be, for most of us, we'll start the day with some sunshine on Wednesday. Still this area of cloud and showers across parts of southern Scotland and northern England, and that will continue to linger here for much of the day. But elsewhere, as I mentioned, some sunshine. But for Northern Ireland, cloud will thicken as the morning goes on, with some rain arriving here by lunchtime, and the cloud and rain also spreading into parts of Wales and southwest England as the afternoon goes on. So here, we've combined with a strengthening wind, feeling pretty chilly as the afternoon moves in. But elsewhere in the sunshine, not feeling too bad for the time of year, with temperatures around average. And then as we go into Thursday, this band of rain will sweep its way across the UK, bringing further spells of showers behind it, and temperatures all the time near average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes & Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think. Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Wednesday's newspapers, and we're going straight into The Guardian. And what's this about? The war on drugs? I thought that was the 80s. What's this?
Yeah, so US states get tough with war on drugs era laws to tackle fentanyl crisis. So fentanyl is killing a huge amount of people in America, 70,000 a year. I believe last month they captured enough of the drug to actually kill everyone in America. And it hasn't previously been getting that much attention. But it's because what's happening is the drug cartels, Mexican mostly, are sort of cutting. It makes cocaine and various other drugs stronger.
Yes.
But you can OD because it's so powerful. So now they're implementing these laws, like anybody who dealt it, smelt it, and basically is going to jail as well.
But the thing about this is these war on drugs that are in its various iterations, it never seems to get anywhere.
Well, that's exactly.
Well, we don't know how many drugs we'd be taking if there wasn't a war on drugs, Andrew. You might have to limit your intake.
I see. So it might be even more intake.
Well, people are criticising who it's attacking because and it proved that just getting the street dealers, and in this case, it's not even dealers. It's like someone doing it with their friend, and then their friend ODs and they survive. You've got to go for the actual source, which is these Mexican cartels.
But it's not just the Mexican cartels. I mean, the Mexico has been made a whipping boy for this fentanyl crisis. But the precursor chemicals are coming from China.
Right.
And China is deliberately sending these chemicals, used to send them direct to America. They want to weaken America. This is a soft war, and this is killing. I mean, this is killing hundreds of thousands of people.
Is there not a case for a sort of decriminalisation or making it effectively wiping out the drug trade by saying that, well, we can provide it legally?
Well, they've already got that with OxyContin and other opiates. I mean, really, America just has this culture of taking lots of opiates.
Right.
I mean, you can get OxyContin and other types of legal opiates quite easily from pharmacies.
So there's another further slightly interesting angle, which is that Republicans are now talking about attacking Mexico directly, and that could have big ramifications.
Like militarily.
Seeing them as terrorists, drug dealers now as actual terrorists, and going in, then certainly parts of Mexico...
But it's not as though the drug dealers are sanctioned by the Mexican government.
No, well, that's the thing, it runs so deep. If you've seen Narcos...
I haven't. I've seen Breaking Bad, so I know...
OK, well, it does go to that level, and also there are parts of Mexico which the government just isn't part of anymore.
OK, well, sticking with The Guardian and with America, something else they do really well, Leo, violence.
So anger and radicalisation. A rising number of Americans say that political violence is justified, and this is on both the left and the right. So they're saying a lot of this is due to Trump's indictment. They see Trump as, this sort of oppressed political dissident, and that's radicalising his base. But this University of Chicago professor, Robert Pape, says you're seeing growing anger and radicalisation on the left as well. Yeah, I'd noticed, USA spent like a year on fire because of BLM and Antifa riots, which are
but they were peaceful fires.
They weren't.
They were riots of compassion.
Huge numbers of deaths, and deaths, I mean, for all that they're supposed to be protesting for racial tolerance, there are spikes in the deaths of black people, which is terrible.
I mean, I think it predates that. There were some very troubling studies on university campuses saying that a lot of left-leaning students were saying that violence is an acceptable form of self-defence against mean words, against speakers with wrong opinions. This is something that's a real problem because, of course, the right are going to react.
Well, it's a problem, and it's a problem that's getting worse. And as Leo says, it's a left and right problem. The left are saying, particularly about freedom of being pro-choice.
Yes.
That seems to be the issue, that they're saying that it's OK. They're saying to make the government do the right thing.
Yes.
That it's just for
so
more
to
people.
Kill babies, we've got to kill people. Is that their slogan?
That seems to be
it is a bit crazy, I think, where sometimes you see sort of left-leaning commentators, Guardian commentators sort of saying that sometimes political violence is necessary to get what you want. But as soon as you justify that, then the other side are going to do it too.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to get back to civil discourse.
And the other thing that's interesting is about how all these charges against Trump are seemingly backfiring in that it is radicalising people. Like, there's a marked increase of people sort of seeing him as this
what
victim.
Biden should have done is bring everybody in under his umbrella and make sure that everybody's listened to. But instead, he's actually been a really divisive president.
Yeah, he has. OK, well, we're going to move on to Wednesday's Times next. And Josh, Lord Frost is excited about being Lord Toasty.
Lord Frost claims rising temperatures will help Britain. So this is just a great way of dealing with climate change. It's just be like, yeah, you know what? It's not going to affect us that badly. His argument is that because more people die in the winter, 8 times more, I think it is, than the summer, then actually let's get a bit warmer and that's going to save people's lives.
But it's not sunburn we're worried about here, is it?
No, it's not. And there's a bunch of other things.
People aren't dying from sunburn in the summer.
Well, there are more people. It has increased, not sunburn, but people dying.
They do die from their country going under the sea level.
Yeah, well,
but that country isn't Britain.
So,
no, it's not.
No,
it's
not yet. But
And also these countries aren't going under the water. I mean, it's a myth that sea levels are, that we've got this catastrophic rise in sea levels. If you look at all the people who say, oh my God, climate change, we're all going to be underwater, they're all buying houses at the shoreline. Like Obama, all these people, they buy houses so they have a nice sea view. They don't believe that the sea's going to rise.
You don't think?
No, and it's ridiculous. And it's, I mean...
Should we say for often reasons that the sea is rising?
No, but wait a minute. Well, look, there have been some cases where the sea has risen and people have been displaced. I mean, that's happened a lot. That's on record.
Like where?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in climatology, but I've read articles about it. They can't just be making it up.
Yeah, no, I mean, like maybe if you've got like a really low-lying Bikini Atoll, then yeah, maybe. And also some, land generally tends to sink. Land is always shifting, so we don't know. But I mean, the thing about people dying, fossil fuels, the exploitation of fossil fuels has led to incredible advances in longevity and health and wealth and living standards, like the protein we eat, the transport, everything that we have. The heat in our homes.
If you think that, Leo, don't you think Lord Frost's approach is a weird way to tackle that, or to make that point?
He's providing the other side of the argument. He's saying it's not all, it's not all one-sided.
He's saying it would help us to be a bit hotter. That's basically what he's saying.
It would help Britain to be a bit hotter because people die in the winter from the cold.
Yeah, but of course the other factors is that around the sort of equator, where you'd see increased droughts and whatnot, then you're going to see the migration, and then that arguably...
But the equator doesn't really heat that much. It's mostly stays with the...
But the point is that it's going to lead to more migration into...
Well, look, we are making better wine in England now, thanks to climate change.
There we go.
So there you go. It's nice wine. So the Mail now with Tai Chi, but not for thee, Leo.
So King's College London is fighting a race row after white lecturers feel segregated from free Tai Chi classes put on, which ironically are put on to tackle the chronic stress triggered by racism and systemic oppression. So this memo advertised the event as being for staff who identify as black or people of colour or global majority.
Identify as?
Yeah.
So they don't have to be black?
Yeah, but I don't think you can just turn up like Justin Trudeau.
If they say identify as black, then I'm going to go in there and say I'm black.
No, I think you
Teach me some Tai Chi.
You get fired. But I mean, it's ridiculous. So they're tackling racism with racism. It's like the old saying, fight fire with fire. Fight racism with more racism.
What's this phrase they're using as well? Identify as black, people of colour, or global majority?
Global majority is the fact that, most people in the world aren't white. Only, I think, 12% of the global population is white.
Yeah, but if you're arguing for systemic oppression, doesn't it help your cause to refer to these people as minorities, not majorities?
They've got to change the word every 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So there's got to, it's people of colour, BIPOC, BAME, they've got to change it.
Yeah.
So now it's global majority. Next week it'll be something else.
And people who don't consider themselves to be white as well. So it's like the flip side of it.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
So Tai Chi's the slow motion martial art.
Yeah, it's like a relaxing thing and whatever. But I think it's really unfair because what about, committing sort of systematic oppression can be very stressful, I believe.
Yes.
So don't they deserve to be able to relax as well?
Exactly. Yes, more equality. Absolutely. Well, we're going to go on to the Mail now, Josh, with a story about what happens when two religions meet.
Indeed. Pope Francis, 86, just so they could just chuck it in there.
Yeah.
Tells young transgender worshipper, God loves us as we are. And this is quite interesting. So he's doing a podcast, because even the Pope has a podcast now.
Really?
It's competing with Nick's.
Yeah.
He was asked some questions, and someone asked him how they're torn between the dichotomy of their love of the Catholic faith and their transgender identity. And his answer was that God loves us as we are.
You could read that in two ways.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is he basically saying, don't cut off your bits because God just loves you who you are?
Yes.
Or is he saying... Well, I think that's what he's saying. But
that sounds like it to me.
Or he's saying God loves your trans self.
Well, it's being read, and I think how he intended it is as God loves you if you're transgender. Because previously he's spoken out, he said that people being gay is no concern of his.
Well, he said, who am I to judge? Yeah. But I would say he's God's representative on earth, and that gives you a position of judgment.
I also like he talks about this is God's crazy love.
Yeah, he does. No, I think that's a translation.
This is my Italian accent.
Is he the Pope, or is he a character in like an 80s Madonna
This
film?
is God's crazy love.
Well, I think it's not a controversial thing for the Pope to say that God loves everyone. I mean, that's sort of a given.
And the Catholic Church is full of men who like wearing long dresses.
Right, so they've got a reason. Didn't the former Pope used to wear Prada shoes?
Really?
Yeah. So very
I don't
stylish.
think that's a sign of being trans or...
Well, you don't... Wait, gay men like Prada shoes.
Everyone
I'm not saying he was gay, but let's move on.
Surprised he can afford them.
We're going to go to the final section coming up. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about gratitude ponchos, adult children, and cocaine sharks. You won't want to miss that.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my new show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m, where real people get to meet those in power and hold them to account. Every week, we'll be hearing your views from up and down the country in the real world. Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference. And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Wednesday's newspapers. Kicking off the final section with the Mail. And what's this about ponchos, Leo?
So would you wear a gratitude poncho? An NHS advisor has been mocked for suggesting that staff sign gratitude ponchos on their colleagues' backs as part of a team-building exercise that critics called a special kind of hell. So basically, they wear these ponchos that have a sort of paper pad coming off the back, and you can write on the back of the person what you think of them, and it shows gratitude.
I mean, that's asking for trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to be exploited.
If you tried that at GB News, I think there wouldn't be much gratitude.
I'm going to put it on there. There you go. I like your shirts. That's what it says. I don't think. Whoa,
that's
you can keep
honest
that.
opinion.
Yeah.
No, but this is like when you're back at school on the last day and you get to sign everyone's shirts, and people on the back used to write some foul evil stuff, you know? Well, that was maybe just my school, but...
that's why I wear paisley.
Yeah, I see, so people can't do that. But I mean, that, you know, it's an odd one, isn't it? Well, I suppose it's well-intentioned, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I wish that it existed in time, like back in the day, so we could have it in the office.
Yes.
That would have really... I mean, that's one of my favourite episodes.
OK, we're going to move on to the Star next. It seems like China has a novel way of dealing with unemployment.
Yeah, job shortage in China sees full-time children carry out chores for parents. So essentially, because the jobless citizens are finding themselves, unemployed or whatever.
Yes.
See, but essentially, we're talking about pocket money.
Yeah, working for their actual parents.
For the actual parents, and saying this is my job is to sort of take my parents to the supermarket or hang out with them.
How do the parents feel about this?
Well, they're paying about £1,000 a month for the privilege of that.
No, because as a parent, you want your kids to grow up and leave, not that you have to bring them back and pay them money.
No, because remember, different cultures, like the parents will move in with the adult children.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do it like that, don't they?
But the idea that you're going to employ your child to hang out with you, that seems pretty sad.
Yeah, would you do this, Leo?
Employ, like, give money?
Yeah.
No. I demand it, like parents do in the West. They just demand it. But youth unemployment is it's running really high in China. They're going through some economic turmoil. I think the government score is an undercount. The real rate of youth unemployment is about 40%, and they're facing this demographic cliff because people haven't been having children.
Right.
And it's the same malaise that we've got in the West.
So you're saying the government in China isn't giving out the real figures?
No.
What's that about?
I don't know.
There must be a typo.
Yeah.
Something like that. OK, we're going to go on to the Mirror now. And it's not just this comedy show that will get reported to Ofcom, Leo.
So a Channel 4 boss has revealed that 2 major comedy shows would not be aired today under the new guidelines. So they said spoof comedies like Ali G and Borat wouldn't make it to TV. It's not because they cause offence, which we see, normally people come out and say, well, we couldn't make this these days because, people would get offended. I'm sure people would get offended at Ali G and Borat, but this is Ofcom's consumer welfare rules where you're not allowed to trick people on the show into you're not allowed to sort of misdirect them.
So what about something like Beadle's About? Because they tricked people in that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but then they told them. So I think as long as you tell them before
but they
broadcast...
told them. I think they told them Didn't they tell them with Brass Eye and whatnot eventually?
No, with Brass Eye. With Brass Eye, they got them to sign documents saying that release forms, but they didn't tell them that they were being pranked.
Yeah.
So I think this article points out that Brass Eye wouldn't be able to be made either.
Yeah, I mean, it was the ultimate sort of spoofing people, and even the late David Amos, he raised a question in the Houses of Parliament about a totally made-up drug.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably exists now though, that drug.
So you wouldn't be able to. It's very interesting. It's interesting that they changed the rules like this.
Yeah, but basically it's because Ofcom has this thing where you have to be informed of the potential risks for the participation in the programme, which I was not pointed out to when I joined this show.
No, exactly.
Getting tweets from hate from the left and the right.
Yep. Welcome to my world, Josh.
Somebody emailed in to point out that one of my collars was inside my jacket.
I think it's my collar.
Oh, is it yours?
It was both of you. You're both as shabby as each other. Disgraceful. We're going to move now to the Telegraph and beards. So, Josh, finally, you can join the police now.
Yes, finally. I did try to join the police many years ago. They didn't let me in, because my eyesight was too rubbish.
Is that right? But you don't have the authority. You don't have the gravitas. No, don't be upset about that. But if I was robbing a bank and you show up, I'm going to carry on robbing the bank.
I've got a gun. Pow.
Oh, so you're an American policeman, not a British one.
That also might have been
I'll blow my whistle.
What's the story, Josh?
All right, police drop beard ban after officers refuse to shave. This is Police Scotland. They tried to bring in this ridiculous thing about cutting moustaches and the beards.
They said they might have to shave twice a day because...
Some people, and because of masks. And this was, way after COVID and all of that.
Yeah, you can't wear some of the masks unless you're completely clean-shaven.
Yeah.
So what were they doing in Scotland? I'm not blaming you, Leo, but what were they thinking?
Scotland has some weird COVID rules. I mean, they really loved it. The government loved it because it allowed them to shut down all the economy, which is the ultimate goal of any left-wing government, and control what everybody did. And they had weird things like they paid I think £750,000 to saw like a third off the bottom of all the doors in schools to let the air in.
Really?
But obviously, it just meant Scottish kids froze and it was completely pointless.
And with this, they wanted beardless police officers on the off chance they might all have to wear masks again.
Yeah,
Sounds
but
like
you know
circus
what? You know who
troupe.
stopped it?
Go on.
The LGBTQ QI Police Federation.
Did they?
Yeah, because they wanted to do like YMCA and village.
You're making this up?
No, it says here the LGBT Police Association criticised plan.
That sounds ridiculous. Right, we're going to move on. We've just got time, I think, with this, with the express cocaine sharks. Leo.
So fearless cocaine-fueled sharks could attack tourists as gangs throw drugs overboard. I've got to say the word "could" is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. This might have been written on cocaine. So they say while cocaine is known to be harmful to humans, its impact on sharks is less understood. Yeah, how the straw's going to get wet? How are they going to? I mean, it's ridiculous.
They don't have credit cards to cut it up.
Yeah.
Wait, are there sharks with a coke habit? I mean, this can't be real.
Well, they're saying there could be because they're dumping so much cocaine, bales of cocaine, in the sea. We've seen some wash up in the shores of Ireland recently, that it sinks down, and then they surmise that it gets eaten by fish or sharks.
Yeah, and sharks do chat a load of rubbish.
Yeah. They get quite boring when they've had a few, don't they?
Quite egocentric. Few lines.
I think this is an utterly ridiculous article.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that's why they're attacking humans more, maybe.
Why? Because they're coked up?
Yeah, because it gives them more confidence.
And they think, the humans might have cocaine on them.
OK, very, very interesting and a lovely way to end the show. We're going to, before we end, have a quick look again at Wednesday's front pages. The Daily Mail is leading with What Planet Are They On? That's their investigation into corrupt lawyers. The Times has number 10 wants NatWest boss to quit over Farage. The Financial Times is leading with Sunak ready to overhaul green targets for landlords as general election nears. The Guardian, UN calls for phone ban in schools. And The Telegraph has Rose, I leaked Farage story to BBC but won't resign. That's all we've got time for. But thank you ever so much to my guests, Leo Kearse and Josh Howie. We are back tomorrow, of course, at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans in the hot seat. And the panellists will be Nick Dixon and Cressida Wetton. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat right now, do stay tuned for breakfast.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your GB News weather forecast. Well, the next few days it's set to remain unsettled across the UK, further spells of rain, but in between we will see some sunshine. Reason for the unsettled conditions is these two areas of low pressure, really not going to go very far over the next few days. And with a northerly wind, it's going to feel pretty chilly at times, especially by night under some clearer skies. But for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England, actually tonight, we will remain fairly cloudy here with some outbreaks of rain. But elsewhere, relatively dry and clear, and as I mentioned, under the clear skies, feeling pretty chilly for this point in the year. Towns and cities staying in double figures, but out towards the countryside, we could see lows falling down to around 5 to 6 degrees. But compensation will be, for most of us, we'll start the day with some sunshine on Wednesday. Still this area of cloud and showers across parts of southern Scotland and northern England, and that will continue to linger here for much of the day. But elsewhere, as I mentioned, some sunshine. But for Northern Ireland, cloud will thicken as the morning goes on, with some rain arriving here by lunchtime, and that cloud and rain also spreading into parts of Wales and southwest England as the afternoon goes on. So here, we've combined with a strengthening wind, feeling pretty chilly as the afternoon moves in. But elsewhere in the sunshine, not feeling too bad for the time of year, with temperatures around average. And then as we go into Thursday, this band of rain will sweep its way across the UK, bringing further spells of showers behind it and temperatures all the time near average.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m. Monday